Zelensky is sending the message that if Russia is at war with Ukraine, then Ukraine is at war with Russia. If Russian troops enter Ukrainian territory, then Ukrainian troops can enter Russian territory. Now, of course, the amount of territory seized by Ukraine is relatively de minimis, but I think it's very symbolic that Russia needs to understand, and the Russian people need to understand that this is not, as Putin describes it, a special military operation. This is a war, and a war involves both sides and involves losses from both sides. And so I think that that's the important symbolism of Ukraine's incursion into Belgorod. Many of the things that Putin is doing are not for military purposes, but killing civilians, killing children is just plain out terrorism. This is like Al-Qaeda. This is like ISIS. You don't kill innocent people for no military purpose. And that's what he's doing, and that is terrorism. My prediction is that before too long, Donald Trump is going to cut off military aid for Ukraine. I believe that he's setting up the circumstances for that. This, what I call, indecent proposal of a minerals deal, which is basically asking Ukraine to give all their resources to the United States, is a deal that can't be accepted by the Ukrainians. I think that Zelensky will eventually have to reject it. In response to his rejection, the United States will say, or Trump will say, no more military aid for Ukraine. And then Europe is in a terrible position because for Europe, if Ukraine were to fall, and it would fall without 40% of their military aid no longer coming, then Europe is next. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland could all be attacked from Russia. And so the best way to avoid that for Europe is to maintain the military support. And there's two ways to maintain the military support. One is to dramatically increase taxes in Europe on regular population. And the other way is to confiscate the $300 billion of frozen Russian reserves. And that needs to be done soon, because we're in a situation where every 6 months, all EU member states together, unanimously, have to refresh the sanctions. The $300 billion of frozen money has to be refreshed. In other words, it has to be agreed upon every 6 months. In July is the next vote. And there's one country within the European Union, Hungary. This Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, has openly supported Putin. And there's a very real chance that he will veto the sanctions. If he does that, then the money gets returned to Russia, and then that money gets spent killing Ukrainians, as opposed to the money being given to Ukraine to defend from Russia. And that's why time is of the essence. Well, it's not clear that Ukraine can turn it around unless Ukraine has a significant increase in the number of weapons and the kind of weapons and the freedom to use the weapons that they had before. However, there's also a very important thing to note, which is that Russia is really operating on vapor trails of their own weapons. Russia has burned through 11,000 tanks, 44,000 other military vehicles, 930,000 soldiers. And so Russia is not in great shape either in this war. And so the most important thing right now is for Ukraine not to collapse their defense. And that's the purpose of continuing to provide them with military aid. I think it tells us the same thing that his body language told us in the Oval Office when they invited President Zelensky to come to the United States, that the United States, the Trump administration, is openly disrespectful of Ukraine. And at the same time, even though Putin has not gone along with any of Donald Trump's proposals, they've not said a word that would indicate any type of serious response to Putin's lack of engagement, which means that Trump respects Putin and disrespects Zelensky. Well, Putin is trying to play all different sides at the moment. On one side, Putin has been an ally of Iran. Putin has been giving them various types of aid. and buying from them drones in large quantities. On the other side, Putin is trying to become friends with Trump to convince Trump to throw Ukraine under the bus. And so Putin is sort of sitting between a rock and a hard place because he doesn't want to give up either relationship.